everybody. Welcome back to the Kpush podcast. Welcome back. Today's date is June 20th of 2024. Welcome. I hope you all are having a fantastic day, evening, middle of the night, whatever you're doing. Maybe you're doing blow off of somebody's cock at 4 o'clock in the morning. Either way, I hope you're having an excellent time no matter what you're doing. I hope you're enjoying this podcast while you're, snorting blow off of somebody's dick. Either way, whatever you're doing, I don't really know, how to start these things. It's always a very awkward thing for me to start, like, a podcast. Because once I get into the rhythm, it sort of just starts to flow. But the start of it always seems very awkward and very clunky. But I had a very interesting week this week, guys. I had a very, it was strange, I suppose. See, Here's how I'll start this off. I have a small lump on my testicles. It's like a small, you know how that goes. It's always a fun, it's always a fun time when you discover by the way, you always find out about these lumps in the middle of masturbating. I know nobody, that's not like a thing people say, but like, you just get your nut off and then you start feeling around your ball sack and all of a sudden you're like, what's this? Huh? What is that? Huh? What is this? And of course, like, I did the man thing and I waited a week. Even though that there was like a clear lump on my ball sack, I was like, you know what? We'll give this a week. Let's see if this we'll see if it takes care of itself. Maybe the lump will go away. Who knows? Maybe the lump fairy will come and take away my lump from my testicles and leave a small nickel under my pillow sack. Pillow sack? Did you see what I did there? Dude, come on. You gotta give me props where props is due. No. So, you always, I try to get my mom to make the phone call, because that was the part that I was really the most least excited about. I was like, Mom, can you please... I know I'm 20 years old, but which is, by the way, the most Gen Z thing ever is be like, but there's a lump on my ball sack. Can you do it? Do me the solid, Ma. Do me the solid. I'll get you for the next. Here's the thing, Mom. You know what? When you get breast cancer and you need a phone call to be made, I can be your guy. But right now, I might have ball cancer, and I need you to, make the phone call. Either way. The phone call is the worst part. My mom said no, obviously. But the phone call is the worst part because you got to call. You have no idea who you're talking to. No clue. Could be a man, woman, thick Latina, a goth girl. Who knows? Really, whatever, fantasy suits you. Really. Because you call, they're like, hey... What appointment do you need? What doctor do you want to see? I want to see, Turner on the Wednesday. You got Wednesday open. Just Turner got Wednesday at 11 open. Great. I'll take Wednesday at 11. It's like, booking a reservation at like a nice restaurant until they ask the question. So why you coming in? And you just got to go, well, there's a lump on my ball sack. And they're just like, okay, that sounds good. And they just hang up the phone. And you're, in your bed alone thinking about what the person you just talked to look like. Maybe their ethnicity, gender, age. I thought about everything. I'm still thinking about which person I talked to over the phone and what they look like. I don't know why. Why does that matter to me? I don't know why that mattered. It mattered a whole lot, though. Like it mattered who exactly I was talking to over the phone about the lump testicles. I wanted to know who knew, but whatever. It's fine, I suppose. The interesting, I guess it's all interesting to me, I suppose. But the weird part is obviously when the doctor comes in and tells you to pull your pants down. And I don't know why. I was expecting for like an STD, testicle cancer, but as the doctor just firmly grabbed my nutsack. He found the lump very quickly, by the way, might I add. He found it, like, really quickly. It's not like a big lump. It's like a, small one. It's a little hidden. And so, this is ridiculous. This is so ridiculous. Is there not a more 20-year-old topic, by the way? Like, just a 20-year-old being like, you know what's interesting? You know what I'm going to talk about on my solo potty? I'm going to talk about my balls. That's what I'm going to do. But anyways, as the doctor is found my lump, and he looks at me and he's like, hey, it just seems, like it's an infected pubic hair. And I don't know why, but I got, like, really disappointed in the fact that I didn't have cancer. Do you know what I mean? I just was expecting, an STD at least. Like, hey, you got AIDS. I just was worrying about this lump on my balls for an entire week, and it was just an infected pubic hair. I probably just shaved wrong. See, dude, this is where I need a sponsor for the ball cutter. The ball razor or whatever. They have a couple now. They have a couple good ball razors. I need one. I need one right now. Is there anyone, better for an ad for not accidentally cutting the skin off your penis? That's my ad. That's my ad. Give them to me, please. Yeah, I had a gay nurse. I was worried. I don't know why. As soon as you can tell, right? He had a lisp or whatever. It was just, I was worried he was going to be the one looking at my balls. Which I don't know why, because why would the nurse look at my nuts? But the whole time you're just thinking about everything that could go wrong, right? When somebody's looking, as soon as you enter the doctor's office, you get this immediate feeling that whatever you came into the doctor's office for is going to be the worst it possibly can. Like, whatever, you have a sore throat, you're going to be like, well, I'm dying. Even if it's like a small sore throat and you had to go to the doctor's, you got like a weird, I don't know, your arm's hurting, whatever the problem is you're going to the doctor's office for. You just, in the moment, think that you're gonna die no matter what. And for whatever reason, I just pictured this gay nurse asking me to take my pants off with his lisp, like, sir, can you please take off your pants? I need to look at your ball sack. It's just, and maybe call me homophobic. Maybe that is homophobia. It's just, there's certain people I don't want looking at my testes. Thick Latino women, that can't happen. You can't have the goth girls. They're judging the whole time. Gay men can't do that. For sure can't do lesbians. I can't have a lesbian look at my ball. It depends on the lesbian. If they're extra boyish. That one slur that I don't feel like saying right now because I'm not far enough into the podcast. Like the girly lesbian. Can't do that. That's off guards. But oddly enough, I don't have a problem with old men. Old men looking at my balls. What is that? Why can't I have an old guy looking at my nuts? I feel like I could have any black guy at any age range can look at my nuts. I trust them. I trust that they aren't going to do gay shit. Because they're, sometimes, yeah, whatever. We'll make stereotypes here. So, sometimes black men are, they're a little homophobic here and there. They don't fuck with the gay shit. As my buddy Josh and Andy would say, they don't fuck with the gay shit, homie. But they wouldn't say homie. They'd say the other one. And they, I trust a black guy looking at my balls. I don't know what it is. I feel like an Asian person couldn't handle the size of my nuts. I can't have them looking at my nuts. I can't do that. I don't know what that is. It just wouldn't work. It wouldn't work for me, okay? There was something else. Yeah, no, I had a whole list. I mean, a whole page. I wrote of cancer jokes, just in case I got diagnosed with ball cancer. I had an entire page of cancer jokes pre-written to deal with, future trauma that hadn't come yet. That's how broken my brain is. You know what I mean? Like, I spent an entire week thinking I had ball cancer and immediately started writing ball cancer jokes. Immediately. Like, that was my first inclination. Did I using that word inclination right? Did I use it right? Who cares? Who cares? You're listening to a 20-year-old's podcast. You care if he uses the word inclination right? Hopefully I did. Well, who gives a fuck? But, it was a little odd. It was like anticlimactic. It really was. Now I have and I made a bit about this. I have to turn this into a bit. This is fantastic. But now I have 2 ball jokes bit. Because now, I had the surgery on my nuts when I was 11 years old. I have a bit about that, about getting surgery on my nutsack at 11. And now I have a joke about, this lump on my testicles. No comedian less than 2 years in should have 5 minutes on their ball sack. Yet, here I am. And I have it. It's odd. It's an odd feeling to have. By the way, both work. They're both like 2 of my best bits right now. If I am going on Kill Tony, you damn well better be sure that I'm bringing the ball jokes. My first joke on Kill Tony better be a ball joke. I'm going to be disappointed. I am going to be disappointed. But I haven't recorded in quite some time now. It's been a little bit of time. A lot of stuff's going on. Other than the obvious, AI is taking over the world, Israel's happening, the Ukraine is still going on, kind of. China looks like they're, taking the first step to being the first real superpower in the military, and also the economic system is doing a lot better than ours over here. But other than those obvious things, which, 20-year-old has no idea how to solve, Kendrick, that's what we're going to talk about. Because come on, that's much more my speed, if you will. Kendrick went on and performed at his pop-out show. Pop-in, pop-out, whatever, show on Amazon Prime. It wasn't a show. It was like a concert. Live concert, I should say. And and I know I'm finding this on TikTok. I can't find any other good quality videos, but Dr. Dre came out, and I feel like he blessed Kendrick a little bit here.
I'm gonna just need a moment of silence for this one. Psst. I see dead
people. We can't play anymore because I'm worried I'm going to get a copyright strike, even though that nobody's watching this, and I'm getting no money off of this. Yeah, it's hard when an NWA rapper comes out 40 years after the prime of rapping and gets in on a diss. Because you got to think, like, Dr. Dre, if there's a Mount Rushmore of hip-hop, Dr. Dre's on there, right? NWA, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, that's all Dre and Kendrick. So he really is one of the Mount Rushmores of hip-hop. And that's got to hurt Drake a lot. And it kind of feels like the end of the beef, right? This kind of feels like it's over. It's done with now. This kind of feels like this was the victory lap for Kendrick, because he played this song like 5 times. But it was, again, like my ball story, a little anticlimactic. I'm not going to lie. Because we got the tease with the song he did with Future and Metro Boom. And then you got the fucking Euphoria. You got Meet the Grams, and you got Not Like Us. And it just felt like, 5 would have been a better number. Feels like 5 would have been, it's a better number than 4. It's a better number. And also, didn't see Pusha T staying quiet throughout this whole beef. To me, that kind of came out of nowhere. Came kind of from the side a little bit, huh? A little bit from the side. Because I thought the victory lap legitimately was going to be another diss track with Pusha T and Kendrick. Both going back and forth dissing Drake. I thought that was going to be sort of the epic finale to this whole beef. But I was wrong. And this sort of feels it. Feels like Kendrick wanted to do the victory lap. He won. It's been a month. Drake didn't really respond. And if he did, he's too busy doing, Hey There Gwanda. Which is, I don't even know what to say about that song. There's nothing to add. When again, you can't add humor to humor. It doesn't work. And when you hear it, you laugh. So what am I going to say about it? How fucking bad it is? You already know that. So it feels like the beef's over. Kendrick's obviously the GOAT. That looks fucking amazing. He's our GOAT. He's our Tupac. He's our Jay-Z. Whatever you want to call him, our Kanye, whatever. He has been consistently one of the best rappers of all time. And this really seems like the first beef he ever got himself into and stayed in and finished to completion. Pause. But it just, it feels like there needed to be, a cherry on top with a little bit of whipped cream. And I guess him playing this 5 times in a row with Dre can count as that. But I don't know. I just expected, something a little bit more crazy. Hopefully people still aren't listening to Drake. Some people are, though. People are going to listen. People know Michael Jackson touched little kids, and they still can't stop playing him. And his music was 40 years ago. So the reality is a lot of people don't care. A lot of people don't give a fuck. Like, they're like, yeah, so what? Drake got lapped by Kendrick and is probably may have had sex with minors. Who cares? His music is good. Much like the Kevin Spacey thing. That's why he's coming back. That's why all these pedos, or whatever, sexual assault. To me, it's like, am I going to memorize every single conviction of every single person? Really? Is that my job? What are we going to do? Flashcard for convictions now? This is insanity. So, it's just, it's weird, though. It's weird how the whole thing sort of played out. Because it felt like in the moment, it was never going to end. And so now it's over. And it's like, well, what's next? We always want something next here. We always want something entertaining, something going on. And the Drake and Kendrick beef definitely, fed that for a little bit. But, we're like a fucking bear that needs to eat every day. Now we're hungry again. We're hungry for new drama. We need someone, to come out as trans. Maybe Drake should come out as trans. That might save him. If he comes out and he's like, guys, I'm not gay and I don't have sex with minors. I'm actually a woman. I'm actually a woman who identifies as a 17-year-old. And that would be fun. You have to think of these things as fun. You can't look at them as like, oh my God, look at how far society has fallen. But, that's true, maybe. But it's also fun to watch the society collapse. That's fun. And I think Drake coming out as transgender. Think about this. Like, you got to think about this, right? Like, think about this from a marketing perspective. Caitlyn Jenner killed somebody. Right? She killed somebody with her car. Right? She did that. And so, if she can get off scot-free with being trans with that, I can't imagine Drake doesn't skirt past this whole beef thing. Just come out as a woman. Come out as a woman and just keep calling Kendrick transphobic. It might work. I don't know if it'll work. I'm not sure. And then drop an album about being trans, Drake. Drake, you need to call me, buddy. You need to call me and I can be your, strategist, whatever, your marketing person, whatever it's called. I can be the guy to show you the way. That's... When people ask, when I'm around Drake all the time, and he's probably, whatever with me, I'm just going to say, look, I'm Drake's guy who shows him the way. I'll call him. He'll come out as trans in a month. We'll have the whole thing set up. I mean, this will be a big marketing thing for Drake. But who cares anymore, really, about that beef? We're like, it's over with. It's done. And it is what it is. The Boys, speaking of Drake, The Boys, the TV show The Boys, season 4 dropped. And it is excellent. It is so good. It's so good. And Homelander asking the Deep to blow A-Train is maybe one of my favorite scenes in cinema of all time in film history. Again, The Shining, step aside. The Dark Knight, step aside. Shawshank Redemption, step aside. Homelander asking the Deep to give A-Train a blowjob. That's peak cinema right there, ladies and gentlemen. It's not going to get better. The reality is it's just not going to get better. It's not going to get better for a very, very long time. And apparently there's a sauna scene. I'm very excited for it. I've only watched the first episode. The first episode's very good. It's very good, but it doesn't seem as urgent as season 3 does, maybe. Maybe I would say that, although it does seem like a lot of setup. So I'm excited. I'm overall excited. The creator came out and said that season 5 is going to be the last season. It's going to be the last season. They're going to tie some things up. They hinted to maybe a main character dying. I wonder who it's going to fucking be. Could be, the character dying. Maybe. But either way, I think a lot of TV shows are sort of following in this line of ending at season, 5, 6. Better Call Saul was 6. Ozark was 4. Game of Thrones were a little long. I think they had 7 seasons, and everybody said the last one sucked. Balls. The Boys is season 5. I think Succession was season 4, season 5, something around then. I didn't watch Succession, so I don't know. A lot of these newer TV shows are genuinely following the rule of 4 to 6 seasons, which seems like a very good amount of television, because you get basically a 5-season movie. After 5 seasons, you kind of have to start making up new things that maybe doesn't follow from the original plot line and may get old very, very quickly, something like The Walking Dead did, or The Simpsons. The Simpsons is the best example ever, because everybody talks about how good the first, even season 7 with The Simpsons is very, very good. And then after that, it just sort of plateaus and falls off deeply there. Yeah, well, that's The Boys. I'm excited for it. I can't believe people still aren't watching it. A lot of people still are not watching The Boys. Even, people who really like Marvel and superhero shit, but they refuse to watch The Boys. I will still never live down, or let Joe Rogan live down, how he called The Boys just a ripoff of The Watchmen, which it kind of is. It kind of is to his point. He's kind of got a point. But also, you take Watchmen and you throw social media in there and you get a whole completely different new story. Also, a spin-off of The Watchmen, or, a copy and paste version of The Watchmen with different characters still is very interesting. I still don't know why you wouldn't want to watch that, because that's still very good. Very good television. Delicious. Very, very good. I wanted to fucking talk about. I'm fucking fasting right now. I'm fasting. I'm on like what time is it right now? It's fucking 7:40. So it's almost 8 o'clock. So whatever, 12 hours plus 7 hours. So I'm on like 19 hours of fasting, just about. It's kind of crazy what goes on in the brain when you hit that 20 hour, 19 hour, 18 hour time period of no food. You really get fucking focused and you really start to think about food a lot. And also, if you do like a craving, if you do a craving, what the fuck does that even mean? See, again, I'm saying too many words too fast here. Also, we're 25 minutes in, so I'm cracking this THC beverage. Zero calories, surprisingly, huh? How about this? A THC hard seltzer. Zero calories. It's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive if you ask me. But when you do a 20-hour fast, the things you crave for food is pretty interesting because you're not craving like burgers or pizza or unhealthy shit. You're really craving like eggs, steak, chicken, bacon. All this protein shit. Maybe you want a protein bar, some nuts, going back to the nuts. Maybe you want some peanuts. You know what I mean? Or beef, whatever it is. Vegetables, fruit. You start to really crave like healthy things that are good for your body. You're not really too focused on eating junk food. So I wonder what it's like with this Ozempic. I'm very intrigued by Ozempic because I like fasting. I like not eating. So what does Ozempic do to like the fast? Would it fuck it up? I feel like it would fuck it up in some way. Also, these headphones, they're fucking killing my fucking head. Oh my god, my ears hurt. Like, I like hearing what I'm fucking saying, and I like hearing my own voice. It gets me more locked in. But it just fucking hurts in my ears. Jesus Christ. By the way, I mean, Bill Burr. I know I don't like talking about other podcasts on my podcast because it's like, what are we doing here? But I still do it anyway because I'm 20 and I have nothing else to talk about. And it's a majority of my day is spent listening to podcasts and music because I work. And when you work a shitty job, that's what you do. So he was fucking recording a solo episode, and he's fucking in his car. He's going outside, sitting on the sidewalk, recording a solo episode. I genuinely think that if 9/11 happened, and Bill Burr was in the towers, and the rubble didn't hit him, I don't even think he would notice. I don't even think he would stop. I think bombs could be going off outside. And I think he'd just be like, what the fuck is going on here? Just continuing this amazing ramble. I wish I could ramble like him. I'm sort of jealous of the no video solo episodes. I'm starting to think about that. I'm starting to think about doing no video. Because all this is my thoughts. But sometimes when there's a video, I feel the need to like perform. Be like, and act like a fucking carny. But I'm not. I'm not a carny. This is just some mentally ill 20-year-old spewing his mental illness. That's all this is. So I'm very conflicted about that. I'm wondering if I should just switch to no video. Also, there was an there. I fucking hate saying I hate it so much. Fucking hate it. I've tried really hard, especially during my stand-up, to stop saying like and an. But it's hard. It's very hard, especially when you're thinking. You feel the need to continue a sound. But the silence actually just sounds better. Like silence, instead of going, is way better. And it's alright to take a second to, like, think and catch your thoughts. But, god damn. Is it hard not to say like an in the heat of the moment during the pressure of doing live stand-up? And I'm sure that goes for everything, right? if you're giving like a presentation at work, I'm sure it's tough not to say like and an But it does make a big difference when somebody doesn't say those things or make those sounds or whatever you want to call them. It makes a big difference. They sound more professional. They sound smarter. Somebody who doesn't say like and an right, might have a lower IQ than somebody who has a high IQ but says like and an But that person who doesn't say like and an even if they have a lower IQ, will always sound smarter. Always. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy how fucking humans are that stupid. But, if you look at where we're at, I guess it does make sense. It does kind of check out. Speaking of, there it is. There was another one. There was another one right there. Speaking of, the draft is coming back, ladies and gentlemen. It's back. The draft is back, and it's better than ever. No, it's true. This past Friday, the House of Representatives came out, and they're passed a bill. There was an again there. I'm just going to stop saying when I say it. Hopefully you won't notice. The draft is coming back. The bill is being passed through the House of Representatives, saying that men 18 through 26 will all be registered to join the military, which is retarded, very, very retarded, to say the least, I'd say. There's talk about including women in the draft, which is, I don't even know where to really start with this. The first thing that I'll say with the draft is I tried to talk about it with my parents and older cousin, and I quickly found out, very, very quickly, older generations do not care. They don't care. If you're not young enough to be in the draft, they could not give two shits. Nobody cares, except you, unless you have kids who are even a part of the draft. But even the parents, some of them are like, yeah, send them to war. Let them die. And I think sorry. It's interesting, right? Because I remember my history teacher talking to me, freshman year or whatever it was. And he was trying to explain how a lot of the older generations during the Vietnam War didn't really care. And it's interesting to see that play out now, 50 years later. The difference is the older generation in the Vietnam days saw, World War I, World War II. They saw South Korea, the Korean War. And then they brought out the draft for the Vietnam War, and the older generations were like, yeah, suck it up. We had to go through this. Now you're going through it. And now the older generation of today didn't have any of that. And I'm talking like, 40 to like 60-year-olds didn't have any of that. Didn't worry about the draft, didn't worry about being forced into war. None of it. None of it at all. Sure, you had the Cold War, sure, you had 9/11, but there was no talk of, like, the draft and being forced to war. That never happened. And it's interesting to see the older generation still, after never even being confronted with the idea that they might be forced into war, look at our generation and be like, suck it up, pussy. What are you, gay fag? What are you, fucking gay fag? Put on the fucking vest. You're going to Vietnam. Like, what is going on here? What's happening? It's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. I want to know when I get my victim card for it. I want to know when my generation gets the victim card for this and when I can use it in arguments. That's mainly what I'm concerned about here. Mainly what I'm concerned about is when I can complain. Like most, Generation Z does, is I'm interested in when can I start complaining? When can I? I want to know. I would like to know. I would like a memo when I can start complaining about it. It's the reason why they're bringing back the draft. I read a little bit about in that New York Times article. Is the recruitment numbers have never been lower. Never been lower. Because the support for the military and what the military has done for the past 70 years, everything since World War II has kind of been looked at as a straight negative. A downward spiral of like, hey, what the fuck is going on here? With the Korean War, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Ukraine. I mean, in almost every part, does my generation look at that and go, that probably wasn't a good idea. My generation's not completely retarded. I know a lot of people think that my generation is like full of retards, and to be fair, they have a point there. It seems like we have a lot more retards than other generations, but we have enough decently intelligent humans. Not me. I'm not including me in that list, of course. I'm one of the retards. But I'm a smart retard. I'm one of the more educated ones. And as an educated retard, I can't necessarily explain why every single proxy war that we've ever been in is not a good idea. I can't do that. I can't give you that. I can't explain why Vietnam, Yemen, Syria, Afghanistan, the Ukraine are all bad and why specifically and give specific examples why these things weren't good and maybe where we messed up along the way. I can't do that. And a lot of people from my generation can't do that. But a lot of us sort of have the consensus that it wasn't good. It wasn't all pretty. Vietnam, that whole thing. It wasn't that pretty. It wasn't that good. And so we're not signing up for the military because it seems like a lot of the things the military does and their objectives are sort of centered on what large corporations want and care about. And we don't want to be a part of that. Well, instead of, course correcting and trying to gain the trust of the American people back through doing good things and being a good military and not, entering these proxy wars, they're just going to force us into them. Is what it seems like. This is what it seems like. Now, Tim Dillon, and of course, I don't like talking about other podcasts, but he gave very specific examples and went on a long rant and tangent about how it looks like we're going to World War III. If you look at all the articles and you see what is going on and what's coming out, and if you look at it as an objective person, you could kind of see how they're preparing the American public for something big, maybe like a World War III. But again, there's that famous quote from Einstein, right? I'm not sure what weapons will be used to fight in World War III, but I can promise you World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. And that's true. That's true. Unless Elon gets to Mars and can set up some sort of civilization, which doesn't seem like it's happening anytime soon. So, we're kind of caught in this weird game here where they're going to force us and we don't support them at all, sort of like what happened with Vietnam. Although more so, because with Vietnam, it seemed like, at least in the beginning, they had some trust. People didn't really know what was going on. But now it's out in the front. Like, dude, you guys are fucked. You guys are fucked, and you want us support? You want us to go sacrifice our lives for shit that it seems like you guys don't even really fully understand. It's very odd. It's very, very odd thing to ask of the young generation, which, by the way, I know people give us a lot of shit for, having Netflix and video games and having cell phones and all of these things that do make our lives easier, but we've also seen, the long outcome of 9/11, right, with what that entails with the Patriot Act and TSA having to molest you every time you go to the airport. We saw the fallout of the 2008 market crash, and now we've seen the fallout of President Trump and Hillary and sort of what that's entailed. We've seen the outcome and fallout of the COVID pandemic, and we've lost complete, utter trust. There's no trust in any institution at all for us, especially for me. I've never trusted anything really bigger at all, especially with me being fucking retarded and being dyslexic and not being able to read and write, and growing up in the American education system, which didn't help at all, where I still kind of feel like I read at, like, I don't know, a 9th grade reading level at best. It doesn't seem... school is the thing that it feels like you're supposed to trust right from the get-go. And I never did. Ever. That was like the one thing, even when I was fucking 8. I was like, these teachers are retards. They don't seem very smart. They don't seem a lot smarter than me. And I was 8. I was 8 years old thinking this. So it's a big problem when you have 8-year-olds in a country going to school, looking at the teachers and going, what's this bitch talking about? What's this bitch talking about? And then on top of that, you want us to trust that same government's military? It isn't going to work. It's not going to work, I'm telling you. Also, the draft right now as it stands is men 18 through 26. So, feminists, where you at? Where you at? Where are you hiding? Because feminists forever, for the longest time, have been consistently preaching for equality since they've been around. And now the draft comes along, and your response is, well, I'm just a girl. That doesn't seem like an argument to preach. Also, speaking of feminists, a lot of, and I don't want to get into the abortion argument, but I will, call somebody a hypocrite when they're being a hypocrite. The whole Democrats and lefts and liberals argument for the abortion thing, why it should be legal and why you should be able to get an abortion whenever you want to, is because of the fact, my body, my choice. Well, now we have the draft. So, where's that mentality? Where are you now? Where are you now for my body, my choice when it comes to the draft? When it comes to men? Where's that same mentality? Because if it is true, my body, my choice, and that should go for everybody in a society, which I do agree with, where is that same support for the draft? Or being against the draft, I should say. Because that's not my body, my choice. No, it ain't. So, it just seems a little odd. And also, you have to think about it, too. Where does this come to play with, transgenders? Where does it come to play with transgenders? If somebody can just say, hey, I'm a female, when you get drafted, what does that look like? What does that entail? Well, it's probably going to be sort of like the COVID laws where they'll just make it up as they go. Now, there is talk and there is some speculation of maybe adding girls to the draft, adding them in, which that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. Also, the American public. That's another thing. These weed smoking, cigarette smoking, vape hitting, alcoholics, fentanyl using, cocaine snorters, LSD tabs, under the tongue taking, mushroom addicts, microdosing machines. I mean, what? Fatty boom baddies. I mean, you are talking about sending maybe the worst people ever equipped for war, ever in the history of the entire planet, and now you're going to have us go fight for a military that we don't even necessarily believe in? You're playing with fire. I mean, you're playing with fire. And by the way, if I get drafted, I'm setting myself on fire in front of the White House. I am setting myself on fire in front of the White House. I will literally kill myself. Don't take this as like, oh, I don't know if he's serious. I'm being 100% serious. I'm not going to another foreign country to go die. I'll die here. I choose here at my own will. I would like to die at my will other than the United States government's will. Something about dying under their will does not seem... It's not a way I want to go out. And shooting at somebody I don't fully even understand why we're fighting. Which, by the way, that's the only reason why they would need the draft, is if they're getting us into a war that we don't fully understand. Also, you have to think about how rare it is to meet a Vietnam veteran. I mean, they're out there. I don't want to say it's impossible to find one, but it's odd that you can't see a group of 20-year-olds, right, which is where they were. They were 20 years old during the Vietnam War. A group of 20-year-olds, because you can find other groups, right, in their 70s, you know. You can find the people who are, you know, hippies. You can find the people who are really into, like, classic rock throughout that time period. You can find the people who are into disco. You can find the people who are very straight edge and went to college, all in their 70s. You can find these people. Vietnam veterans are pretty hard to come by. Pretty hard to come by. And it's because a lot of them died over there, or a lot of them came back and got cancer and died from Agent Orange, or they shot and killed themselves because of post-traumatic stress disorder or shell shock, whatever you'd like to call it. So I'm not doing either of those things, and I don't think a lot of other people are. It's also hilarious that it's a Republican House of Representatives, right? Because Republicans are all about freedom. They've preached freedom forever. This is what they've been doing. Freedom this, freedom that, freedom of speech, blah, 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 blah. Freedom to own slaves. You know how it is. You know how they are. And this is just not freedom. And by any means, this is not freedom. Nothing about forcing somebody to go to war says freedom at all. There's no freedom there. And it's just interesting because Republicans are always about freedom until they need you to go shoot brown people. Until that happens, they're like, yeah, freedom. But, you know, I mean, freedom's cool. And we preach it. And freedom is cool. But, you know, brown people exist. And what do you want us to do? I mean, our hands are tied. Brown people exist, and we don't have enough people to go kill them. So you're going to do it for us. And it's just an odd stance to take. It very much is. It's very odd. Holy shit, we're at 50 minutes already. I don't have too much left to talk about. If we get to an hour here, we'll wrap this up. We'll talk about Star Wars. We'll go from the draft to Star Wars, because that's what we like to do here on this fucking show. I'm also going to take a rip of my dab pen, because there's a lot to talk about here, people, and I get tired. So, there's a new Star Wars show. It's called, I don't even know what it's called, actually. Like, I'm trying to see if maybe it's a part of the hashtags. Oh, Acolyte, Acelite. Who cares? It doesn't matter. There's a new TV show on Disney Plus, and it's getting absolutely fucking trashed on. People are calling it gay. People are saying that it doesn't align up with canon, with George Lucas's rules. And here's the problem is I don't want to talk about this for too long, because then I sound like a faggot nerd. And I want to avoid that. But I am kind of a faggot nerd for Star Wars. So this is my dilemma here, where, I don't want to sound like one, but I am one. So I got to kind of tread the line here carefully, because I don't want to seem like I care about it too much. Because caring about Star Wars, look, you can care about Star Wars, but if you care about it too much in your 20s, like, you got to have your priorities straight in your 20s, right? You got to think, like, number one priority, right, when you're 20 is getting your dick sucked. If you're a man, that's what you should be mainly focusing on. Even if you're trying to push that to the side, that's, biology sort of insists upon us thinking about that 24/7, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. I don't make the rules here. Secondly is, like, your passion, your career, what you're thinking of doing for the rest of your life. And then, like, the third interest can be Star Wars. Maybe. It should be your, 10th, though, which I think it is for me. But it's still, a problem. Even 10th, it's a little too much. But we got this actor here who doesn't know anything about anything Star Wars. And I think that it's very interesting, because I'm just going to talk about Disney and Star Wars in general, because I think that that's more interesting than solely singling this one TV show out as sort of a company's entire missteps along handling Marvel and also Star Wars. So we'll check out this guy. Let's check out this actor.
People have been talking to me online about how Darth Vader is such a bad person. It's very clear, and it's very well established from those actions. But if you can't look and see that Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people. I'm going to get in trouble saying this right now.
So, there you go. The guy thinks Anakin Skywalker blew up the Death Star, which is listen, that's the first movie. Like, we're talking about a movie that came out in 1977. And it's the climactic part of the movie. And you're not remembering that. That's a problem. See, that's a problem. Here's the thing, though. This actor is a pretty good actor. I've seen him in Russian Doll, that TV show. It's a pretty good TV show. It's not great. It's not fantastic. That girl, the redhead, is fabulous in many different ways. I'm forgetting her name. But anyways, the actor's a pretty good actor overall. The problem is when you bring people into these projects like Star Wars, like Marvel movies or whatever, and they don't know anything about it, nor do they care. They're just there for the paycheck. And things get messy there. Because then you're just starting to make things where you think the audience is going to be pleased by. And they're not making it out of love. See, the thing is with Marvel, like even early Marvel, they had some love movies. I know they still had their shit, like Thor 2. I understand. But, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy is a fantastic movie. It is. It's a good movie. It's not the best movie of all time. Captain America Winter Soldier is a good movie. It's not the best of all time, but they have good parts, good stories, pretty good writing. And that's all you kind of need for like a blockbuster. And there's love behind that. There's love behind those movies. Even though people don't want to admit it, those movies are pretty good. As it kept going on, it kind of, strayed from, I think Black Panther and fucking Captain Marvel, when they released those movies, it was like, wow, you guys have really fallen off here. And I know a lot of people like Black Panther, but that last fight scene looks like a PS2 graphics video game, which is a problem because it came out in 2018. So, look, apparently they turned the Force into like a gay woman, which I don't even know what that means, so I'm not going to watch it. I'm not watching this movie or TV show. This marijuana is really kicking in, and I'm starting to forget what I'm talking about or why I care what I'm talking about. But we're going to keep going. The thing is, I don't understand why they want to make things gay. It seems like they're progressively trying to do the woke thing, and then nobody watches, and they still keep going. She-Hulk. When you see She-Hulk, and you see Megan Thee Stallion twerking with She-Hulk, you go, who thought this was a good idea? Who looked at this and was like, yeah, that's good? And I'm basically, the problem is if I keep going with this point, I'm just going to be repeating South Park. And South Park never misses. So they have that whole, character just going into Disney and yelling at everybody, make it gay, make it lame. Make it gay, make it lame. And that's basically what they're doing, and I don't understand why. Because it's clearly not working. It'd be one thing if it was working. Right? It'd be one thing if they went all woke and then people kept, watching. But nobody's watching and everybody's complaining, and yet they continue. Which is actually the more interesting thing, I think. I think the ability to look at what you're doing and continuously fail and keep going is interesting. It is interesting. And you're probably somebody who's watching me and going, well, look at this podcast. You've failed for 3 years. And I go, hey, shut up. Relax. But the thing is, this podcast was never successful. This podcast was never good. It never got views. It never made money. This podcast has always been shit. It's always been terrible, and it's always been shit. And that's fine. But the problem is Star Wars was great for like 40 years. Like, Star Wars was good for 40 years, and then it just fucking fell off. As soon as Disney started going a little too cuckoo with it. So it's interesting to see something fall off after 40 years. It is interesting. The Boston Celtics won the championship. I don't care about this. I really don't. It doesn't matter to me. The one thing I will say is if you don't care about sports, if you really don't care at all, I'm telling you right now, Boston fans will make you hate Boston fans if you don't care about sports. I'm sure if you like other teams, you already hate them. But if you show up to the room of Boston fans, and you're like, hey, I don't have an opinion here, you'll end up hating the fans. You will. You will. In like a 45-minute conversation, you'll start to be like, hey, shut the fuck up, faggots. Like, we get your city doesn't have anything else other than sports, so you pride yourself on this so much. Any city that, like, New York City has the Yankees, right? And the Mets, but the Yankees, more specifically. And they like the Yankees. A lot of people like the Yankees. Some people love the Yankees. But it's not Boston. It's not the Red Sox. It's not the fucking Patriots. It's not the fucking Celtics. They're so aggressive. They're aggressive to the point where it's almost like that kid in middle school who would brag about how much money he had because he was self-conscious and insecure. That's what Boston fans are like. They're that kid. They're that annoying rich kid who keeps talking about how much money their dad made, even though that they've basically contributed nothing, basically contributed absolutely zero nothing, and they just keep going on because deep down, they're insecure, and they know that, you know, the place they live in is a piece of shit. So, it's odd. It's odd to see them be so, I'm telling you right now, if you had 3 posts about the Celtics winning, you're a faggot. I don't know what else to say. If you had if you posted on 2 different social medias about how the Celtics won the championship, you're a faggot. I don't know what to tell you. My hands are tied here. I don't make up the rules. This is just how it is. And unfortunately, to most people, you're a faggot. I've said this before on this podcast, and I'll continue to say it. Instagram is for porn and memes, and sometimes the occasional stand-up comedian. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else. It's for you to post ass pictures, memes, and white people with anonymous accounts saying the N-word. That's what Instagram is. That's what it should be. That's what it's become. And that's how it should stay. So enough with the Boston Celtics. And this goes for any team. I know I'm singling out the Boston Celtics because they've done this the most recently. But this goes for every team. You get 1 post per friend group. I'm being serious. You should have a group chat of your entire friend group. And you go, which one of us is going to make 1 post about the sports team? It doesn't need to be all of you. I am telling you right now, it doesn't need to be all of you. By the way, some of these people who have been posting about the Celtics have nonstop posted about the Ukraine, COVID, Israel for the past 4 years. They've done nothing but post either the left point of view or the right's point of view. And now they're going to interrupt it with Boston Celtics. Shut the fuck up. You deserve to be slapped in the mouth. My hands are tied here. I don't know what to tell you. Somebody should cut a hole in your throat and fuck the hole in your throat. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Again, I don't make the rules. Seriously, though, one post per friend group. It doesn't need to be all of you posting 3 things. You make me want to shoot my balls off. My large, post-surgery, maybe ball cancer, testicles. You make me want to shoot them off. I'd rather shoot my testicles off than go on Instagram and see 500 posts about the Celtics. Again, other teams and other fans do this. Stop. Stop doing that. Please. It's not needed. Thank you. I don't know why I wrote this down or saved it to the end. Eminem released a song, and it's the best thing he's released probably since 2013. So, that's exciting. I really have nothing else. And unfortunately, I think I've gotten too stoned to talk about anything else. So, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you had a fun time listening to it. I hope that you have a wonderful day. I hope that you don't have ball cancer. And I hope you are continuing to suck or snort blow off of somebody's cock. Thank you so much. Goodbye.